There we go.
Welcome to our talk. We advise you to buckle up and take this wild journey with us as we dare you to open the HR Pandora's box. If you have any questions during our talk, please put them in and we will answer them during the Q&A time at the end. Hi, my name is Mun-Wai. You can also call me MW. I have been on this Agile journey for about 20 years. I worked in organizations all over the world, started in engineering, and ended with my last corporate title as chief of staff when I started messing around in HR, finance, and facility. My goal is simple. I go after anything or any group that hinders the team working effectively together to produce a product that delights the customers. You can find more information on my website.
And hi, I'm JF. It's short for John Francis, which is my first name. I've been working in Silicon Valley, California for the past 30 years now. And my Agile journey started in 1998 when, as an engineer, I decided to try things I read about on net news and implemented what were the beginnings of Scrum at that time. The results surprised me, and I've been doing Agile since then, constantly learning and growing.
Let's start with some fun activities. Now, for this fun activity, you need pen and paper or use your computer to write things down. I'll give you some time if you want pen and paper. JF, you are probably going to start doing your magic here.
I am already doing that. Thank you.
Perfect. So for some of you, you may start to notice that you have an @ symbol in front of your name. Don't touch it. You may also realize you have some additional functions in your Zoom, and that's because you are now co-host and have some extra superpowers. Don't touch anything yet. I will explain what that means. So very soon, JF is actually going to pair you guys up into breakout rooms, one with the @ symbol in front of your name and the other without. So please remember to your room number. We have 4 sentences for you to complete. I will post the sentences in chat. And there are 4 rounds, so 1 round for each sentence. During round 1, you and your partner will complete the first sentence together and write down your individual answer. You have 30 seconds for each round. And after 30 seconds, JF will broadcast that it's time to move to the next round. Now, people with the @ symbol in front of your name, you will be the one who move to the next higher room. For example, if you're in room 3, then you will go to room 4. And how many rooms do we have, JF?
I believe we have 8. We have 18 participants, less 2. So there will be 9 rooms. Sorry. Sorry, 16 rooms. 16 people, 16, okay. 8 rooms, sorry.
So if you are in room 8, that will be our last room. Then when it's time to move, then you go to room 1. That will be your next room. Now, as co-host, once you're in a breakout room, you will see breakout room as a menu item on your menu bar at the bottom of the screen. It's the same menu bar where you see participants, chat, share screen, and record. When you click on that button, you will see a list of all the breakout rooms, and you are to go to the one that is 1 number higher than yours. Then click join. So make sure you remember which breakout room you're being sent to. Now, when the people who move, after they move, we'll start a conversation with sentence number 2. Now, for the people without the @ symbol in front of your name, don't worry, you don't need to move at all throughout this activity. So this repeats every time the move is moved, the sentence changes. So let me show you the 4 sentences quickly before we break out into rooms, and I will put those into chat so you can refer to it when you're in the rooms. So first sentence, when I see HR's email that it's time to do performance review, I blank. Second sentence, the purpose of performance assessment is blank. Third sentence, I feel valued if blank. And final sentence, I am blank with how I am being recognized today. I wish my company would blank. Okay. So I am going to put these 4 sentences into chat. Here we go. So you can actually refer to it. All right. JF, are we ready to do the breakout?
I am still doing a couple more moves. Sorry.
No problem. No problem.
So,
So while we're waiting, you guys can think of what you are going to put for those, how you're going to complete those sentences that I have already put in the chat. Remember, you only have 30 seconds each round, so it goes quick. So hopefully now you have figured out what you're going to say, and then you can share with your partner, and then you can discuss that 30 seconds. All right.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, see you guys in a couple of minutes. Have
Cool.
fun.
Oh, shoot.
Don't worry. All good.
Pause record.
With the annual budget process at its core. In this context, it describes both a management culture and a performance management system. So beyond budgeting means beyond command and control towards a management model that is more empowered and adaptive. And that was before Agile Manifesto was published in 2001. Now, Esther Derby from the US wrote the first blog about these topics in 2003. Then she wrote her second post on this topic in 2004. Spotify was founded in 2006, though their HR blog didn't come out until 2016. Our sole US representative, Esther Derby, continued writing on this topic. Then in 2010, Agile HR Network started in Finland by Rina Hellström, while Agile HR courses also started in Germany. US continues with its sole representative writing on the topic. And by December 2010, Jurgen Appello from the Netherlands published Management 3.0 book. And shortly after, in 2011, Pia-Maria Thoren from Sweden started having Agile HR courses. And Esther kept writing. In May 2012, Jurgen Appello published another book called How to Change the World, Change Management 3.0. In the US, after Esther wrote about this topic for more than 10 years, finally something concrete. Agile Alliance had Beyond Budgeting as one of the keynotes in Agile 2014 conference. And then Agile Capitalization was one of the sessions in Agile 2015 conference, when it educated people that the US generally accepted accounting principles was changed. For those of you who don't know what capitalization is, capitalization begins when you move from what to how you will design and develop the software assets. In the past, with waterfall process where projects are divided in phases, it's easy to know when the preliminary phase of a project is complete and management commits to funding it. With Agile, the lines are blurred. Well, Esther continued to write in 2015, and Jurgen Appello published his Managing for Happiness in 2016. Then in 2017, a book was published in Sweden called Agile People, A Radical Approach for HR and Managers by Pia-Maria Thoren. And also, Agile HR Community started by Rina Hellström from Finland and Natal Denk from the UK. In 2018, Stephen Jennings in the US published an Agile HR article in Forbes magazine, and Esther continues to write in 2018. Now, at that point, interest around these topics start to pick up around the world, including Asia. If you look at the slide, Europe seems to be more interested around the topic of Agile HR and Agile Finance than the US. However, there's still a few of us in the US who have been experimenting in these areas, and we're here today to share with you what we have tried.
So from the breakout exercise earlier, one of the sentences that we asked you to complete was the purpose of performance assessment is, and you said intimidation, opportunity to share, place people on a scale, make managers feel better, or even waste time, which is hilarious. So let's step back and understand what the original purpose of performance assessment is, and if the current practices are meeting the goals. What are the purposes of performance assessment? It's to distinguish people between performing and non-performing. It's to help people improve or swap them out. And it's a way to figure out budgeting and funding by systematically giving people salaries and raises. So performance management is a way to tease this out. So are these purposes still valid? Well, if you think of it, yes, they are. So the conclusion is the original purposes are still valid.
Now that we understand the original purposes of performance assessment and that they're still valid, let's see if the current practices are meeting these goals. So what are the practices? The first is focus on individual achievements. Second, it happens annually, well, at most twice a year. And third is you force rank people. So for those of you who don't know what force ranking is, it's to fit everyone onto a bell curve so as to know who to promote, who to give raises to, and by how much, and who to sack. Now let's match up the original purposes of performance assessment and see if the current practices are meeting these goals. So the first practice is focus on individuals. Well, yes, you can distinguish performance from non-performance this way, but it leads to heroism and discounts team collaboration. That's not what we want. Second, it happens annually and at most twice a year. To truly help people to improve, people need feedback early and often. And third, force ranking people, it does help figuring out funding, but it is actually based on wrong information. Remember, we said the way to distinguish between performance and non-performance are based on individual achievements, and that discounts team collaboration, and that's not what we want. So assessment using wrong information gives wrong results, and you're rewarding or dinging the wrong people. Plus, forced ranking is demoralizing. So for example, I work very hard and my team have been showing good results, but we're to fit into a bell curve. It's also dehumanizing. You may have been told to hire the best, but now you have to fit the best into a bell curve. It also lacks transparency. Non-managers do not know what happened during those closed-door forced ranking sessions. So while the original purposes of performance assessment are still valid, the current HR practices do not achieve the purpose. In fact, it demotivates employees, both for individual contributors as well as managers. Oh, even HR doesn't like them. It definitely reduces business agility.
So why are we still having performance management systems when everybody in the company dreads it? How do we create a system that we can achieve the purposes while motivating the employees? So I'm going to stop share because we're going to start sharing our stories. So as I said, the main point about performance is to give feedback at the time that it's needed and do it often. So Agile retrospectives have already this built in. So we took that construct and applied it to performance reviews during an enterprise Agile rollout. Before doing that with the teams, though, we made sure it was psychologically safe. We clearly stated failure is okay, managers have to allow failure, and people wouldn't use the retro feedback against each other. We worked to up-level everyone's skills to create safe spaces. This is a key foundation. We then introduced performance feedback into the retro. We told managers to attend retros and help guide team members with the right behaviors of what it takes to deliver a product and not just code. We encourage them to amplify positive action and address negative habits. We also encourage team members to help each other out with similar feedback. By doing this, we enabled quick performance feedback loops within the team and managers, and having these documented in retro notes now served as a repository come performance assessment time. However, not all retros captured this information consistently. People still found performance reviews painful that year because the info in the retro notes were still lacking. So we decided to iterate on this idea and apply it to people's one-on-ones. We came with a lightweight one-on-one personal performance template. This template captured timely feedback during one-on-ones with a manager. We came up with this solution because the first part of any performance review is the self-assessment. So the template was a success the following year. It made performance reviews easy. It was mostly a copy-paste operation between the 12 templates, one for each month. People didn't have to think hard to write down what they accomplished that past year.
I want to let you guys know that I'm going to keep my video off because my internet is not happy with me. So at least this way, hopefully you can still hear me. So my cautious approach is similar to JF's story, but has slight differences, and it goes further. Now, you may think my cautious approach is quite radical. I'll let you be the judge. So as JF mentioned, there needs to be a safe environment first. Otherwise, no one would dare speak up regardless of the methods used. So I had a two-pronged approach. First, every quarter, directors will set goals for the organizations. The managers then break those goals down to what it means for their groups. Each team member then comes up with goals based on the higher level goals. Second, for the teams, we use retrospectives and sprint reviews as the basis of performance evaluation. Every 2 weeks during retrospectives, people on the team would give feedback to each other. For example, your code sucks, or QA thanking developers for helping them out. Now, retros expose both good and bad, and never in between. These comments were collected as data, and we looked at the trend over time. The trend is then noted as part of the performance review. During sprint reviews, the entire team is rated based on sprint goals. Sprint goals are not defined by managers. They are defined by the team. That's what they're committing to. So the sprint commitment is part of performance assessment and retrospective. Again, the trend is what matters. Every month, the managers would review the goals with employees mentioned in the first prong, plus the retro and sprint review trends to give feedback, address any issues and act on them. The managers summarize them to the directors. Now, every quarter, the managers and directors gather the data from every month, and that's the quarterly reviews. Every year, the managers and directors gather up the data from every quarter, and voila! The difference from JF's story is that managers do not join retrospectives. They let the team work things out. There are two occasions when managers will step in. One, when things are outside the team's control, and two, when things are still problematic over time. This means the managers are actually paying attention to the trend. Scrum Masters are the proxies for managers at retro, so managers can get the trend data. If the managers could not resolve those issues, it would then involve the directors. Now the result? No need for any performance improvement plans. Issues are addressed early. Managers also already know who the high performers are. No need to force rank to try to fit into a bell curve. And documentations are intact, which satisfies legal and HR requirements. We had offices around the globe, and we started one office at a time. For some offices, the HRs were on board and trying new things, so they were involved from the very beginning. For the headquarters, HR was not involved at all. We just mapped things into HR's annual process. We only involved them to protect the company when we needed to let go of someone. My company could stomach more change, so we decided to become more radical. Together with HR, we redefined and remapped roles and responsibilities and levels, re-looked at organization structure. We also revisited how finance was being done, specifically funding, budgeting, and capitalization. We tried variations of agile finance. Think about it. The organization is only as agile as the least agile department. So what are the takeaways? Give feedback early and often. The feedback process is lightweight and transparent. One team at a time, one office at a time. And if the company can stomach more, then it's time for radical approach. Then it will lead to a larger organizational change.
The story is not complete, though, if we only change the performance management system without touching reward and recognition. Why? Because what you measure signals the intent to reward.
Well, before we go into any of that, let's watch a video.
Climate crisis has some fighting for action. One lawmaker in New Zealand was doing just that, and she left her critics in Parliament baffled, but not over her policies, over her witty response to a heckler.
That's right. 25-year-old Green Party MP Chloe Warwick was speaking about the zero carbon bill and how it will affect generations to come when she was interrupted by another lawmaker who jeered at her age. Take a listen.
In the year 2050, I will be 56 years old. Yet, right now, the average age of this 52nd Parliament is 49 years old. Okay, Boomer. Current political institutions have proven themselves incompetent of thinking outside of a short political term.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know which generation you belong to? And if so, which one? Type it in the chat. And if you know, then say yes, and then which one. If you don't, just say no. So you can type in the chat now.
Oregon Trail.
Any others? Ooh, okay.
Nice.
All right.
All right. So here's the answer. These are the generation bands. Were you correct? Give thumbs up if you were. Let me see. All right, we have a few people who said they were correct. By the way, do you know that we have up to 5 generations in the workforce today? So do you think the generations are very different? Here are the magazine covers ranging from 1976 to 2019. It doesn't look like we're so different after all. All generations want the same thing, to be respected, recognized, and rewarded for our work. The difference between them is the form factor that motivates us. Here's an example of what matters to which generation in what life stage. Looking at the graph, the bigger the circle, the more it matters. So for example, millennials view that they are recognized if you give them time. So more time equals more recognition. PTO, flex time, autonomy is their choice of currency. Here's how the 5 generations are distributed in the US workforce today. You may have noticed that rewards and recognition have actually changed over the years. They are changed by the people in management at the time based on their experience. Today, the preceding generations make up 60% of the current US workforce. They're mostly in management and have put the current reward and recognition systems in place based on their perspectives. And that creates a clash with succeeding generations who are doing most of the actual work. Companies need to be aware that workers could get pressure also from their families with their parents imposing their own expectations on what reward and recognition should be. And additionally, the company itself can apply pressure as well because people in leadership also have their own expectations. That's why if a company has only one reward and recognition system, then almost half of its workers will disengage. And disengaged workers are less innovative, less likely to stay long-term, and focus more on output than business value, decreasing a company's agility.
So how do we create a reward and recognition system that is adaptable enough for all generations? And how does that tie into performance? Well, let us share our stories with you. I'll go first. At this company, after the team met over 80% of their goals, we had some fun team events. On top of that, we gave out special awards. These awards were not monetary and they were inexpensive. Let me give you some examples. One prize was the Mickey Mouse Fantasia hat. This prize went to the one who made the biggest impact to the team through his ideas and solutions. That person also flew to all our global offices to help, hence the wizard hat. This became a well sought after prize because people thought they would get to travel all over the world. Now, another award was the Firefighter Award. The prize was a blow-up toy fire extinguisher for the person who consistently put out fires. This award led to responsibilities being remapped in the team. I'm not going into detail here about remapping. It will be illustrated in JF's story and my radical story later. There were other awards, but I think you get the idea. We had these events twice a year, so long as the team met over 80% of their goals. Other groups like product and UX UI wanted to participate when they heard about these awards. We required them to come up with a creative price, because money by itself is not good enough. One of the engineers who was awarded told me, "This is one of a kind, Mun-Wai, you cannot buy it anywhere. I'll treasure it all the time." And he proudly displayed that in his cube with an anti-theft device, so no one could steal it. Oh, by the way, HR was not involved in any of these activities. So what was being done? We tailored the awards and incentives to the team, unlike HR's traditional go-to methods. When the team likes the awards and incentives, they realize management knows them, cares about them, and appreciates them. In turn, they work harder to earn those awards. We started in the headquarters, but team members told people in other offices because it was so much fun. Now all the offices followed suit and did their own version. Word of caution, this is a different budget from the annual bonus and salary increase, so make sure to include this into the next budget cycle.
So for me, I was a senior engineering lead at an enterprise company overseeing a critical project. My manager, who I adored, was very good, but he also had a sly side. He came to me one day and said, "JF, we have a problem. If we want our product to be on the next CD release in 3 months, you need to attend the weekly CD board review meeting. So most of our enterprise customers didn't like to download things because of security concerns, hence the CD. Of course, as an engineer, I was like, meetings, right? So however, this was my baby. I was architecting this entire product end to end and had my team doing Scrum. I really wanted to see this thing in our customers' hands. So I personally made it my mission to attend these meetings because I didn't want to wait another 9 months. A few weeks after that CD released, my manager surprised me. He said, JF, great news. I'm promoting you to a manager. And I was like, thanks, but no, I don't want to be a manager. He said, I was already doing the first line manager's job. All the things that I was doing with the team, getting them to deliver the product in customers' hands multiple times, meeting with each member to help solve their problems, and interfacing with other company departments so the product goes out. These were all duties of a first line manager. What happened here, my manager slyly took me out of my engineering silo, aligned my day-to-day work with the outcomes in the end. The alignment enabled me to take on some of his responsibilities that allowed me to be promoted.
Now let me tell you about a radical approach. In another company, I asked the teams, what does it take to get the product into the customer's hand? They said, oh, you mean what does it take to launch or release a product, right? I said, no, because a released product doesn't necessarily reach the customer's hand. They said, oh, but that's not our problem. I told them that they should care and make sure customers are delighted. Otherwise, customers won't pay and we won't get our salaries. So they started listing out what they do, their own responsibilities, and how those map into that question. They soon realized that did not come close to answering the question, so they started talking to the managers and others about what their responsibilities were in relation to that question. Once they understood those responsibilities, they realized some functions could not join them as a team, like marketing, but they now knew how to interface with those groups better. They also wanted to take some of their managers' responsibilities into the team. The managers let them try, and some even coached them how to do those duties. When the team took on additional duties, they were remapping the roles within the team to include these duties with the manager's help. The team and the managers worked together to redefine the criteria for promotions. This way, a clear growth path emerged and levels were redefined. It allows the team members to decide what to learn and what path to choose. It sets the stage for the promotion. Interestingly, the managers liked what was happening because the team took over the duties they did not like to do. They thought, maybe this could work with their own bosses. So they went to the directors and asked, where do you fit in relation to what does it take to get the product into the customer's hand? Are there any duties related to that which I can try? That let them granted. Those managers have good relationships with their bosses, so they felt safe to discuss such matters freely. Funny thing is, the directors were also liking it and wanted to see if they could do the same with their VPs. Now, they were more cautious because some VPs do not like being questioned what their part is in the process. So for those directors, they told their VPs that managers took the initiative by taking on some of the duties, the one they didn't like, and asked them, are there things you don't like in your job that perhaps I can help? When the directors didn't understand why a VP did a certain thing, they would ask for the purpose, which sparked some interesting discussions, and some duties remapped again, new growth path identified, and levels redefined. At each level, people now know exactly what the growth path is, how the levels are defined, how they can get promoted, and what being promoted means. With all the remapping and redefining, we still did not touch the corporate taxonomy. We separated out the roles and responsibilities. For the outside world, they still see people getting salary raises and being promoted to managers, directors, and VPs, which is the older generation's expectation of reward and recognition, while the responsibilities associated with those roles have changed. This was done one office at a time. We notified local and corporate HR once we redefined the levels and promotion criteria. What started out in the team propagated up the levels and became a radical change. So what are the takeaways? The key questions of what does it take to get the product into the customer's hand teaches the team how to have a holistic view instead of just focusing on their own little part. May it be UX UI design or coding or testing, etc. It helps the team to focus on outcome instead of output and identify the value and waste in the system. It also helps align the strategy and purpose to the day-to-day work. Now, this is tailored to the teams. It can be team-driven, like in my experience, or manager-driven, like in JF's experience, where the manager acted as a coach to him. Some of the responsibilities belonged to the manager previously, and now they're included in the team. The pattern is replicated across teams and up the levels. By the way, when you replicate up the levels, I mentioned in my story, the generation gap between two immediate levels is not that big. So you can understand what motivates your immediate lower level and can support them even if that doesn't motivate you. That allows the incentives to be changed to suit the needs of the generations in that level. If you compare the head of the company to an individual contributor, the generation gap is so big that there's very little to no understanding of what motivates the lower level. And because of that, unfortunately, most of the time, the higher-ups would dismiss the wants and needs of the lower levels. And that's why the pattern is replicated up the levels, one level at a time. As the next generation gets promoted, they can change incentives and rewards to satisfy the need at that level. Now, lastly, put thoughts into the rewards because it drives behavior. So be creative. You may notice in my story that not only those awards are different, hence being creative, but they change from time to time. You need to keep it fresh, change it up, otherwise people will game the When you do each of these four things, roles and responsibilities are remapped, levels and growth paths are redefined with agile values in them, people are vested and engaged, and the result is you now have an adaptable and agile reward and recognition system that satisfies all generations and levels.
One more thing. Is it really about generations? Because there are other contexts as well, like cultural context. And even within cultural contexts, there are ethnic culture, company culture, and team culture, for example. So let's summarize the key points. So performance management, it's about giving feedback early and often. Feedback is also transparent and lightweight. And it's based on purpose and values. And it's tailored to the teams. It's about trying small before going big, team to department, individual office to company, cautious to radical. You need the trust at the level where you want this change to go. When you start going radical, you'll remap roles and responsibilities, redefine levels and growth paths, and relook at organizational structures. And if you really want to go radical, you'll even touch on agile finance.
Now for reward and recognition, keep it fresh, be creative. It's also based on purpose and values and is tailored to the team. You need to try small before going big, so team to department, individual office to entire company all over the world, and cautious to radical. You definitely need to trust and level where you want to get to. And when you start going radical, you remap roles and responsibilities, redefine levels and growth paths, re-looked at organization structure. And if you go really radical, you will even touch on agile finance. Now, did you notice how similar the conclusions are for performance management and for reward and recognition? We highlighted the only difference between the two.
So that's it.
Probably would thank everyone on the call. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe, and we can get to Pavit's question maybe.
Nawaz, I have to go, unfortunately.
You have to? Okay.
I'll make you the host at this point. The recording's still going on, so hopefully you can turn it off on your end when it's all done.